Ted Cruz is running for president of what? I have no idea.
Cruz was first elected as a U.S. Senator 3 years ago as a Tea Party candidate, defeating Texas Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst.
All right, so Ted Cruz basically strikes me as a used car salesman with a little extra pinch of Jesus or something in there. How do you guys feel about it? I know you're big right-wingers, big Tea Party people, both of you. How do you feel about the Ted Cruz?
Well, I went to the wiki page for Ted Cruz, and it's actually Cuban for asshat, is what Ted Cruz actually translates to. I mean, this guy, it's one of those scary things. It's that whole Dead Zone, the Martin Sheen character. These guys are so ridiculous, but that makes them also so incredibly dangerous. It's Sarah Palin with a penis. I assume.
Smarter, way more educated, way smarter.
So that's the dangerous part to me.
This man is intelligent. He's a good speaker. He's very ambitious.
Yeah.
I was reading about him last night, more in depth of what he stands for. And there's some things like he wants to go after Wall Street. Yeah, let's go after Wall Street. I mean, there's some of that Tea Party stuff that I agree with. But this does make him very dangerous. Now, but the thing is that he is so right-wing, and he loves pissing off the mainstream Republicans. And we know that even if he does well in Iowa, even if he does well in New England, the mainstream party boss guys are not going to let this guy get away with anything. He's not Reagan. He's not a centrist.
So basically, he'll do well in those early primaries when you have to really go to the base and the Tea Party comes out to Iowa. Let's not forget, Michelle Bachmann won the first Tea Party, or the first Iowa straw poll.
My view is so much more radical on all these guys. And whenever we bring up Reagan, it's like, Reagan was one of the biggest criminals ever.
Completely.
He streeted, he cut the human services budget, which created the homeless population, which we now just feed people into because there's no beds because they took away all the federal funding. The guy was a complete criminal. And to hold him up now is like, well, that's the far right barrier that we don't want to cross over. And guys like Cruz are so dangerous and so incredibly wrong and lie on just about every sentence the guy says about Obama. And it's not about protecting Obama and his legacy and standing as a president. It's that this guy's lips are moving. He's lying. And nobody calls him on it. We all fall into this let's pine for the day of Reagan.
Do you think partly it's that nobody knows what's true anymore? Like, it's so hard to siphon through truth in this crazy media world that they say something, Ted Cruz will be like, Obamacare is bankrupting the country. We lost $300 million by the time I started that sentence. And then no, of course, but then you'll turn on MSNBC and they'll say it's the greatest thing ever. And that's somewhere between that, my guess is what the truth is. But you just don't know what's true.
We are lazy, uninformed citizens, and you have to do a lot of research to get the truth. And people will feed you whatever their bias is in the media. And and it's easier. It's like, oh, okay, you're confirming my bias already. Now I don't need to think.
But breaking news, and this is from this morning, he signed up for Obamacare.
I know, I love it.
He signed up for Obamacare.
Well, he had to.
No, he didn't, because I drilled down. He could go straight to any insurance company and sign up.
Or Cobra.
He could have done Cobra.
Right. They say they can't afford it.
Because 90% of all of us great Americans, he's a cheap-ass motherfucker. He thought he was going to get those federal subsidies, and I'll take them.
So just to be absolutely clear, the guy is literally running on, his number one thing that he's running on is getting rid of Obamacare.
He shut down the government because of Obamacare. That he's now signed up.
That he signed up for this morning. So what are we supposed to make of these guys like Ted Cruz, who their whole thing is reversing things? So he wants to reverse Obamacare. Whether you like Obamacare or not, the country didn't start exploding like everyone said. Or he wants to reverse gay marriage. This is totally, I get it, he's not a progressive, that's fine.
They want to dismantle everything.
By the way, he's in charge of one of the foundations that runs NASA. This is a guy who doesn't even believe in climate change.
Or science.
So what are we supposed to do with this guy?
Well, this is what I really believe, in a large, big picture cultural way, is these guys come up and our system works on the fact that the far right and the far left stretch at each other, and that we all come together somewhere in the middle and compromise. That is the political system we live in. He's doing his job as a guy who wants.
We used to live in that.
Yes, that's true. Ideally, we live
right. The right just kept pulling so far; it kept dragging everything.
Exactly. And so he's doing his job as the one who wants to dismantle everything. Now, of course, if we can turn back the clock to the 1900s when there was none of these regulatory agencies and things. You can look at, child labor and just everything was horrific. So it's an insane thought. But for me, I am happy about it because I think people like this motivate the other side's base.
Yeah.
You know, it motivates them to get busy, to vote, to get the truth out about these kind of, you know, candidates. And get people off their asses and you know.
Yeah, I basically
involved.
agree with that the guys that are on the fringe of both sides, it usually seems to be on the right, that they do actually empower a lot or activate a lot of the people on the left to like wake up and be like,
Yeah,
could be
because
Cruz.
they're very noisy and very
2016. Do you
strident.
agree with that?
No, I can't, and I'll tell you why. Because that's one of those like, well, you know, that's going to help me get up off my couch and stop playing video games to go vote. What if? Let's just play this game for a second. What if a Sarah Palin gets, you know, one heartbeat and a couple of menstrual cycles away from the presidency?
What are you saying?
I had
Yeah,
to
what-
try.
what?
I had to try.
Yeah,
What if a crazy
That didn't even make sense.
asshat like Ted Cruz
Yeah.
becomes the vice president?
Yeah.
And then, you know, somebody, for whatever reasons, he ends up being the president. You know, then we were like, oh, I guess we weren't motivated enough. These guys are so dangerous.
No, I agree because
So dangerous.
when Bush was running the first time, I thought, there's no way, he's a fucking
Yeah, there's
idiot.
no way.
Yeah. Well, we all know he kind of illegally got the
Right.
presidency, but it happened, and
Twice.
look where we are now because of it.
Yeah.
It's so lovely.
Ah.
And yes, of course, I agree
Yeah.
with it. You have to be strident with these people, as strident as they are, and it is terrifying. And yet the comedians are all licking their lips. They're very happy.
Absolutely, the
Yeah.
comedians are. All right, well, what do you think? Are we being too tough on Ted Cruz? Is Ted Cruz the Antichrist? Let us know in the comments right down below.